And so, beloved masters, greetings on this evening. And we wish to lead you to consider that this inner journey that we keep telling you about, this pathway inward, is not an intellectual process. For the last 250 years at least, the understanding of spiritual connection it's in the book. I read it. This authority said this, and that authority said that, and yet there isn't a great deal said about the fact that you are indeed the author of your own life. You wrote a script before you came into this journey, before you occupied a physical form. And that spiritual desire, some laughingly call it their spiritual bucket list, what the soul wrote before it came in here. And so, that desire is with you. And that desire is within you. And people are looking out there. They're looking into the world. They're looking for someone to tell them what to do. Tell us what to do, and we will do it. Tell us what to do, and we'll say, you can't tell me what to do. So it is, dearly beloved masters. The answers are within. And we will say again that Spirit embraces your mind. Spirit loves all that you are, and that is what is being asked of you in this time of revelation. That you will come home to yourself, not looking around out in the world, pushing your energy way out ahead of you, trying to get out there somewhere something you believe you don't have right here, right now. And that has been done for lifetimes, and you have been encouraged to look ahead. But when you come to center, you come to now. And when you're right here in your physical body, aligned with all that you are energetically, you will actually notice it's so much easier in the energy of these times to be right here, right now. And then, if you push out ahead, reaching, trying to find what you don't believe you have out there somewhere, you may actually begin to recognize how much resistance there is energetically. Not that anyone else is stopping you, but that those old patterns that you have lived for lifetimes are working less and less well all of the time. And yes, the logical mind talks about hard work, and it frowns on ease. Oh, Everyone wants ease and peace and happiness and joy. But the basic subtext of thousands of years of teachings have been, you'll get your rewards when you're no longer in physical form. And Revelation is calling all of humanity, all 7 billion plus souls, to come home and feel. Yes, feel. And the first thing that you will feel may be discomfort. Certainly, in the collective consciousness, there is fear, there is anger, there is the righteousness of judgment, and there is the ability to tell everyone else what to do, and yet to fall into the confusion of I don't know what to do. And in the meantime, beloved masters, the order of doing, which is an outer energy, a projection of your essence. And it isn't just, this is how I present myself to the world, your persona, your personality, your beautiful being. It is the push of energy out into the world. And people say, no one hears me. And I say, are you listening to you? Do you pay attention to what you're saying, what you're thinking? Do you embrace the miracles? Do you love the synchronicities? Do you delight in the magic? And when I say those words, how much fear do they stir that makes you want to turn away, perhaps even to become angry that I would dare to talk about those things, that anyone would dare to talk about those things? How many lifetimes has it been since you have allowed yourself to feel love, to feel loved, to feel the acceptance, the embrace of owning yourself in a wondrous, embracing, empowering way? That love, loving yourself, feels like a foundation within you, not like a lead weight in the belly, but as though you are supported, uplifted, lifted up, empowered. And it comes from the inside out. And so many beings are so closed off in the fear of feeling love. That when all of the wonderful energy that love can bring happen in the life, it is the mind just dismisses it. Oh yes, that was interesting. On to the next drama, the next difficulty, the next push, the next drive for success. And yet, you carry within you, you always have, the gifts of spirit that were granted you in the very beginning. You have a mind, a wondrous mind, a brilliant mind. You have love. You have the virtues, the tools of the masters. You have the ability to align yourself fully with God, Goddess, all that is. And it is when you go to the feelings, it goes beyond words. It goes beyond language. It goes beyond the arguments and the debates. It just feels good to love yourself. And the logical mind has so many rules about how much you can have, how far you can go, and you can't go any further than that. And depending on the lineage that you were born into, depending on the journey that you personally have chosen through lifetimes, you may have accumulated so many rules that if you could observe yourself as we observe humanity, you might find that the light that you are looks very much like a ping pong ball inside of you. You can only go this far, then you've got to go, oh, you've gone too far. Attempting to keep on that straight and narrow when the journey, the path of spirit within is broad, it's encompassing, it doesn't leave anyone or anything out. And the mind says, but what about murder? What about child molestation? What about rape? What about... And it is, beloved masters, you are divine creators. If you want to avoid things in your life, then you have to focus on what you don't want. Because avoidance simply means you've always got to know what you want to avoid, where that is, so that you can avoid it. Which means you can't forgive it or let it go, because if you let it go, you'll lose track of where it is. So in order to avoid the bad stuff, you've got to focus on getting rid of the bad stuff. And you can avow from your intellectual mind, I don't want the bad stuff in my life. I only want the good stuff. And yet, even the master book says, as a man thinketh in his heart, how you feel how you feel about your life, where you put your focus, your attention, that, dearly beloved masters, is what you will live. So, the worry, oh yes, worry. It is the highest form of negative creation, and it is, beloved masters, it literally is like putting bricks on the back of those you love, because the energy that you carry also feeds into, it isn't I'm feeding all of my energy into the collective consciousness, but your connection with all that is. And the logical mind says, I'm not one with them. I don't have anything to do with them. I avoid them at all costs. I will not be like that. I am not like that. I don't say or do or act like they do. But it is in these times, beloved masters, revelation is allowing every human being a greater accessibility to the intuition that was a gift from God in the very beginning, to the free will that certainly religions have swept under the rug because it's highly inconvenient for the masses to have free will. It's really frightening, everyone being able to consider how they feel and live it. That would lead to total chaos. So, beloved masters, look at your television set if you must. Listen to what's going on in the world, and then tell I how smooth the sailing is, as the mind is still running the show to a great extent, even though revelation is changing things from the inside out for everyone. And people feel it. It feels different. I feel different. I feel good. Do you suppose I should worry? I feel good. Is there something wrong with that? It doesn't feel like I normally feel. Should I worry about feeling good? And a lot of people do. Because the finite mind gets very concerned if things change, even if they get better. And yet the more you feel from the Lord God of your being, the more you surrender the need to control the affairs of your life, the more that you allow yourself to live by faith. And yes, masters, faith is the energetic evidence of things you can't see yet, and yet you feel it coming. And people will say, how do you know that? And logically, you draw a blank. I don't know. I just know. Yes. And the more you get in touch with that inner connection, the more you know. But logic says, you've got to tell me how you know. How did you come to that answer? Not because how you came to the answer is important, but because the logical mind feels like it has to fight for what it has to get. So how you know might be important to help me fight my next battle. And the reason you don't know is because you're not fighting as many battles. So you're making a space within yourself where you're comfortable not to know who, what, where, when, why, and how. Because the more you live connected with your intuitive mastery, with your spiritual self, the more you will have revelations about yourself that dawn. Suddenly, you have an aha. You realize something new and wonderful about yourself that maybe you knew it, but when you only know it, then you have to defend it. You have to explain it. You have to make excuses for why. And as these gentle, sometimes quite shocking dawnings come, you find that there is such a wonderful person living inside of you. And the more you listen, feel, hear, feel, see, feel, even learning to think, feel, the more it is that you can actually be at peace with the wonderful person you are. And it develops into ownership of your strength, a recognition of your power, but it doesn't have anything to do with struggling with other people to be yourself. It has to do with the ownership. I am that I am. I am one with all that is. I am one with nature. And the mind has set nature apart. In fact, those that are so caught up in the mental realms have very little, if any, interest in nature. In fact, they will dismiss the natural world as unimportant. And the truth, beloved masters, is nature can get along very well without you. However, humanity does not do particularly well without nature. So, to feel that intimate connection to the natural world, even if you're sitting in a small room with no windows, to feel that vibrant essence of the natural world, to feel animals. Many people are afraid to feel the animals because animals move on instinct. And some humans look at the animals and say, the animals fight, the animals kill. That means, since we are human animals, that we have a right to do those things. And free will says, yes, but as human beings, you have a soul rather than a group soul. And there are some animals that do have their own soul, and some collectives of the animals that are in an evolutionary process of experiencing what might be called the pack mentality. And humans make the choice to experience life in multitudinous different ways. And it is, first, do no harm. But that starts inside you. Because, beloved masters, you are the creators that empower the whole. It isn't you making decisions for how the whole must live. It is you getting so lovingly connected within yourself that you allow yourself to make wise choices. Because the logical mind can get so caught up. Is it right? Is it wrong? Is it good? Is it bad? Is it black? Is it white? And spirit doesn't function from those limits of judgment. Because divine law was set in place before humanity was ever created. So, divine law isn't prejudiced. It holds you in a space where, yes, you can exercise your free will, so that you, by feeling within yourself, can begin to find your standard of living within yourself that gives you a sense of love, of power, of security. And the logical mind says, yes, but you are where you are in your evolutionary process. Tomorrow, you may have made a quantum leap energetically and be in such a different space with yourself that you may absolutely believe you do not fit where you were before. And a lot of people hold themselves back. They will only make so much change because they want to be loved. And they don't want to make waves with those they love. And so, dearly beloved masters, The inner path allows you to find yourself, to own yourself, to love yourself, and to feel the sweetness, the power, the fulfillment that assures, as you have the courage to make the step, to walk to the edge of your comfort zone, to move to the place where you can't see any more light, and take one more step to prove to yourself the light goes with you. Because I can say, if you take that step, the light will go with you. It doesn't mean that much. But when you allow yourself the experience, experiential living, I had the experience. Therefore, I recognize that I did have the courage to take that step, and the light went with me. Not only was there the light in the next step, there was more light than I had before. And that, beloved masters, is what we desire that all of humanity will find for themselves, is that experience of the grandeur of who you are.